Worship for a Cause service, where we raise dollars for scholarships. I would ask alumni to host receptions, and they may be virtual receptions for a while until we all get the vaccine. Virtual receptions where you identify students in your churches, in your communities, invite them to hear the story, this powerful message of SUNO, and how SUNO has been that change agent for so many alums across this region, across the nation, and really across the world. And so I would have them playing an active role in getting us to the right students in places where those students would be invited. We will come, we will offer scholarships to those students, grants to those students, and the alumni will help us build this enrollment. But I'm going to tell you another way that I want alumni to be involved in SUNO. And I've been talking to Jamal about this. I think one of the greatest things that could happen is that we would have alumni, graduates who would go on and get their graduate and professional degrees and come back to this institution as faculty, as administrators, as the next chancellor of the university. Because again, nobody knows this story better than alumni. And if we don't have alumni coming back and taking these critical positions, we risk our institutions going down and not having the kind of focus that it had when you were students, the caring and the commitment and the role models in the classrooms and in the laboratories. And so those would be the messages that I would use to encourage alumni to bring students to the institution and alumni to go and get these degrees so that they can come back and be a part of this campus.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Dr. Amons, if selected as Chancellor, what do you have in your arsenal of desired accomplishments to engender the goodwill of the community, particularly the business community, to support our Southern University at New Orleans? And please elaborate on opportunities relative to financial support, internships for students, and research possibilities for our faculty.
Okay, yes, and again, this planning committee that we have put together to assist us in reaching the various constituent groups of the New Orleans, greater New Orleans community has been extremely helpful. As the permanent chancellor, quote unquote permanent chancellor, what I would do is something that I've done in the past at other institutions. I would transform that planning committee into what I would call a business and industry cluster group. Invite additional members of the committee from the business community to come and see up close our academic programs, how the needs of their industries can be infused into the curricular of our programs to make certain that our curricular are kept at the state-of-the-art level. Ask them to invest in internships for our students, permanent job placements, and then of course, scholarships and grants for our students, because financial assistance is just so key right now. The other thing that I would do, because we have the City of New Orleans, we have so many governmental entities and other private entities, chambers of commerce, GNO Inc., etc. All of them would be invited to participate in this cluster and provide us with the kind of support that we need. Right now, we're in the process of signing an agreement with the city of New Orleans. And that agreement will allow SUNO to place students, well, additional students in internships, allow SUNO really to be the city of New Orleans educational partner through our online programs and through the certificates that we are going to create. City employees would enroll at the institution in our programs. And so that would generate revenue that we can use to put back into our programs and provide additional opportunities. But I think right now, when you take a look at people like Mackenzie Scott, who just gave away billions of dollars, and she donated millions, $50 million to Curry UA&M, $40 million to Morgan State. Dillard got $5 million. SUNO wasn't on that list. And so what we have to do is to have the right people with the networks and the contacts to get us to people like that. And so that's why it's important for us to have that business and industry cluster, those representatives, head officials, if we can, from those entities who would sit with us and help us do the kinds of things that we need to do to build this university into the powerhouse that we know it can be.
Thank you.
Good morning again, Dr. Emmons.
Good morning, Jamal.
Currently, SUNO does not have a permanent quote unquote, vice chancellor of student affairs. The students would like to know, if you were selected as chancellor, when will you fill that position? What attributes would you look for in an ideal candidate? And what expectations would you have for selecting that individual? Also, will you bring in a new team to assist you with that transition? Assist with your transition.
I have been thinking about a 100-day plan. And I think almost all CEOs, presidents, chancellors, in fact, hear President Biden talking about his 100-day plan. I've been thinking about that. And a part of my plan is to fill key positions. The Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs is one of those positions that has to be filled. The person that I would look for is someone who is steeped in the knowledge of student affairs, but has a high level of competence in recruitment, retention, and graduation. At the end of the day, students come to an institution to graduate and to go out into the world, either into the world of work or to graduate and professional school. And I want to have a leader who can inspire the staff to put in place the kinds of systems. I always talk about systems. I don't talk about people so much, but systems to assist students in having a world-class experience here on this campus. I think back on the 4 years that I spent in undergraduate school. Those were some of the best 4 years of my life. I want students who come to SUNO to go way into life and say, some of the best years that I spent were at SUNO. And so I want someone who's going to create that climate where students will have an outstanding student experience. They will be exposed to opportunities globally and would have everything that they need to build leadership skills so that they can distinguish themselves when they go out and interview for jobs, or they want to go to law school, medical school, graduate and professional school. that because of they have been here, they have a distinction. That's what I want. That's my vision for student affairs. I hear so many times that there are institutions who say proudly, you know, you can tell that this is a Morehouse man, or this is a Spelman woman. Well, when students leave here, I want people to be able to say, this is a SUNO man, this is a SUNO woman, because of the kind of environment that we build here to prepare our students for that competitive world that's out there before them.
Good morning, Dr. Emmons. How are you?
Good morning.
Will you please share an example of how you will integrate and promote shared governance on the SUNO campus to better engage faculty in critical decisions relative to the advancement and progression of SUNO?
Okay. And we have started. And I think we've done some great things together. And the first thing that I would say is that SUNO would not be where we are today, free of accreditation, probation, without the faculty. One of the things that I think I'm pretty good at is listening. Plus, I have a wealth of experience in higher ed administration. And there is no way that an institution can be successful without its faculty. And so I have incorporated into the cabinet a position for the president of the Faculty Senate. I try and attend every meeting that I'm invited to by the Faculty Senate. We discuss real issues that impact the future of the institution, not just the meeting, but critical issues for the university. And I think as we go forward, those opportunities for us to interact, to share in the work of the university will increase. I said a few minutes ago that we created a budgeting and planning system for the campus. That planning and budgeting system is led by the Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administration and a member of the faculty. The faculty are part of our budgeting and planning system. The faculty here at SUNO knows the budget probably as well as any faculty in higher education because they are part of these conversations. And like with anything else, you follow the money. And the faculty will continue to be a part of those critical discussions. I talked about program reviews. I'm going to ask the faculty to lead that. But one thing that I will ask the faculty to do is to not show favoritism for programs just because they've been here since 1959. All right? We got to make certain that we have programs that are 21st century programs that will address those issues that face every urban center across this country. And the faculty will be a part of that. And that is just the way that I have operated and will continue to operate if I'm given the opportunity to be the permanent chancellor here at SUNO.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions from the council? Okay, Dr. Merritt, are there any questions in the chat feature?
Yes, there are questions in the chat. Thank you. Dr. Emmons, the first question that we have in the chat is, what are the major deficiencies that you found at SUNO and how will you overcome them?
Did you say deficiencies?
Yes, sir. Major deficiencies.
Well, when I came to SUNO, General, you can relate to this. I came here on a mission. The mission was to address the financial deficiencies here at SUNO and demonstrate that the university was in compliance with the site COC core requirement financial resources. The first one was a $7.7 million deficit. This deficit was caused by a number of issues. But one of the major drivers of that deficit were the athletic programs. Most years we were collecting about $230,000 in athletic fees. Some years we spent $1.2 million on athletics. And that just couldn't be sustained. The second major driver of the deficit was the planning or facilities fund. And you know, we can't forget Hurricane Katrina. After Katrina, the university spent funds to address facility issues on this campus. But we didn't get the reimbursements from FEMA. And we were able to do that. In general, you know, I just have to say this. I mean, you were a major player in helping me think through how we would recoup the millions of dollars that FEMA was holding and wanted to give back to the university and to other agencies. And we were able to get those funds, about $4.3 million, and put that back into the system, because the system was actually carrying SUNO. And so we were able to eliminate that deficit. The other thing is that we didn't have a budgeting process. We didn't have discipline. Whatever, you know, was planned, whether we had the resource to do it or not, we did it. And so now we have that planning and budgeting process. We put in place internal controls. We have technology being used to help us be more efficient. And so those were, you know, some of the major things, because that was my focus. Sykes told us we had to do two things: balance the budget and eliminate the deficit. And that's what we spent our first 4 months doing. And we were successful because we had a great team. And the entire state of Louisiana, I mean, the faculty, students even gave us money from their funds. The faculty taught extra classes without pay. The system was able to support us. The legislature, governor, the board of regents, it just took everybody to get this done once we were able to identify those deficiencies.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons. That question was from Dr. Elazar. The next question is from W. Hicks. What will you do to assist students that are not comfortable with online learning and prevent them from withdrawing from the university?
Well, I tell you, it's going to be difficult for students who don't adapt to technology-based instruction until we get through this pandemic. SUNO is not the only institution that is using technology-enabled instruction. And so what I would do is encourage those students to stick closely to their faculty members, to their professors, If they're having issues with technology, to let us know. We have purchased laptops for students as well as for faculty. One of the other issues that I really want to get on top of is this lack of access to the internet. But this is the way that it is until we get through this pandemic. And we all are going to have to assist our students in adapting to this change. And I can tell you that from every indication that I've seen, even after all of us get the vaccine, and we go back to doing things the way that, some of them anyway, the way that we used to, online instruction is not going away. And so what we have to do is to ask those students to let us know what the issues are, because not only are they going to have the need to be in this technology environment while they're here at the university. Look at business and industry. You look at Squawk Box every morning, CEOs of businesses are on Zoom. They're not in their offices. This is the way of the world. And so it is our responsibility, though, to assist those students through whatever the issues are that they have, because this is going to be the way of the world.
Thank you, Dr. Emmons. The next question that we have in our chat box is from Christian Clement. Christian says, first, I want to congratulate you for your astuteness in leading SUNO to get off the financial probation, which was a real challenge for the success of the institution. How will you align the strategic plan to fit successfully in the current challenge of COVID-19, which has altered everything, especially academic work?
So, and this is important. That's a great question, because COVID-19 is impacting everyone, not just SUNO. Every institution across the globe is dealing with these same issues. Like Louisiana, every public university system has a funding formula or a funding mechanism. And no one is going to be excused, or in other words, given the money if they don't perform. And that's why we are spending our resources to make certain that our faculty and staff not only have the equipment, the technology, but they have training and professional development to do the work of the university, to support teaching and learning, and make certain that students have opportunities to conduct their business in this new technology environment. And so our strategic plan is already aligned. As I said before, it's aligned with the system strategic plan. It's aligned with the Louisiana Border Regions funding formula. And there is not a day that I'm not talking about graduation and retention. And that's why we are, again, providing all of the training, all of the technology-based resources to our faculty and staff to ensure that our students stay on course for graduation.
Thank you. One more question from the chat box, I think is what we have time for. This question comes from the Alumni Federation, Ms. Laquita Thomas as the national president. We would love to see more of our Fortune 500 companies become a partner to the Southern University system, and especially Southern University at New Orleans. Please share initial thoughts on how you would engage more industry leaders to become a partner of the SUNO campus, and specifically what industries might you address initially?
Well, this is something that I talked about a little while ago, but we have an opportunity that that I think is superb. SUNO couldn't be located in a better place. Tourism. That is the bread and butter for SUNO. And so when I talked about doing this program prioritization initiative once, if I'm named chancellor, we have to align the academic programs with workforce needs. Tourism, emergency management. Nobody should be better at dealing with emergencies than SUNO. I mean, it's an opportunity for us. And then there's this vast technology sector. Here we are on Zoom. I think we're on Zoom. Maybe we're on Cisco WebEx. Technology is a sector that we have to be engaged in. And like I said before, our students ought to be dreaming about now working for Zoom and for Cisco and WebEx, because that's what everybody is using. And those companies need students with the right skill sets. And then, of course, Madam President, Texas Instruments as well. That should be a destination for our students also. But what I would do, what I've been thinking about as a part of the first 100 days, is to have a summit of business, industry, and governmental leaders for SUNO. It may not be an in-person summit, but I think we ought to have a summit where we talk with business, industry, and the public sector about their needs and what kind of skill sets should our students have to be able to come into their environments and hit the ground running. And then to talk with them about supporting this grand vision that we have of SUNO being a leading urban university, dealing with these issues, bringing young people into an educational environment as opposed to dropping out of school and doing those things that are unproductive. SUNO is a powerful tool that is underutilized. And I think if we get this summit, create the business and industry cluster, we will be able to reach that corporate community through our academic programs, because they can give us sound advice on what we should have as a part of our curriculum to prepare our students for their environments.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Merritt, and thank you, Dr. Ammons, for, of course, taking time to talk to us today on behalf of President Belton and this entire council. We congratulate you for making it to this step in the process, and we also want to commend you for the work that you've done in the interim in providing leadership for Southern University at New Orleans. Just so that you know, we'll be reaching out in the coming days, and if you have any closing remarks, you may do so at this time.
Thank you. Again, I want to thank the council for inviting me to interview for the position of Chancellor for Southern University at New Orleans. Your commitment to the future of the university is evident by your willingness to serve on this advisory council, by the tough questions that you have posed here today, and the fact that you are here in person in the midst of this pandemic. After serving as interim chancellor for the past year, I have been able to see firsthand how beloved this institution is in this community. I also see the potential for a strong and vibrant SUNO that will continue to be viewed as a trusted voice and a valued asset for New Orleans, the state of Louisiana, and beyond. And this is what excites me about this position. And now possibly having the opportunity to lead this university through the next phase of its growth and development is really exciting. Relying on my vast leadership experience in higher education and my accomplishments here at SUNO, I will be able to continue to implement plans, systems, and programs that will continue the momentum that we have built over the last year. In complex organizations like SUNO, stability and leadership is important in some.
Thank you again, Dr. Ammons. And just to let everyone know, we did have a few additional questions that we will share with Dr. Ammons that were in the chat feature via Zoom. So we will share those with you. We are out of time, unfortunately. We will reconvene for the committee in the next 30 minutes. And so our next candidate will be heard at 12 noon.
Thank you, Dr. Ammons.
I was just talking to you. Just talking about how
I did, thank you.
Good.
Also, we want to let you know that we are very proud of you in making it to this round in the selection, and we congratulate you on that. Thank you. Before we begin, and we see you do have a presentation, and everyone does have their handouts. We want to just go through a couple of things with you, just to let you know, as I stated earlier, that this is a live session. So the viewers have the option to submit questions to you via the chat feature. Also, Ms. Gerald, who's sitting to my left, will be keeping us on track in terms of time. So the last 5 minutes of your interview, she'll flash a time card so that we can stay on pace. And of course, we have introduced ourselves before, but before you begin your presentation, we're just going to do a brief introduction, and then we will turn it over to you for you to begin your introduction and then your presentation. Thank you.
Welcome, Dr. Crowell. I'm Russell Loneray, Lieutenant General, United States Army, retired, SU Class 71.
Good afternoon, Dr. Croft. I'm Robin Merrick. I serve as Vice President for External Affairs here at the Southern University System.
Good morning, Dr. Crowell. I'm Edward Blanchard, retired assistant professor of school social work here at Southern.
Good morning, Dr. Crowd. This is Jamal, SGA President.
Hi, Dr. Crown. I'm Lisa Manning Ambrose, alumna.
Hi, good morning, Reverend Dr. Torrance Sanders, Associate Professor of School of Social Work.
Good morning, Dr. Crowell. Kenya Smith, SUNO alumnus.
Good morning, Dr. Crum. I'm Professor Cynthia Ramirez. I'm the Faculty Senate President at Southern University at New Orleans.
Good morning, Dr. Croft. My name is Sean Charles, and I'm the University Comptroller.
Good afternoon, Dr. Crown. I am Tiara Washington Punite from the Office of Administration and Finance.
Good afternoon, Dr. Crown.
You are my travel friend.
She keeps everybody on task.
Yes.
And in order. And we also have our IT team here, as well as I'm sure you've met Mr. Hammond. And I'm Katara Williams. I'm the Chief of Staff for the system. So now that you know who we are, tell us a little bit about yourself and then dive into your presentation.
Wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Stephanie Craw, currently serving as the Associate Vice Chancellor of Advising and Student Success at the City Colleges of Chicago. I've been in higher education for 15 years, serving in a variety of capacities, crossing academic affairs, student affairs, and enrollment management. Also within my experience, I've done a lot of grant writing, have been a published author, research, and a number of things for the institutions in which I have served. So I am happy and excited to be here with you all today to share why I should be your next chancellor for Southern University at New Orleans. So within the presentation, I wanted to start off with sharing what my strategic vision would be as chancellor. I would say the one line that really focused in on my vision is being a student-centered and student-ready university. So I believe within any institution, it is important for us to keep students first. Everything that we do, from enrollment, recruitment, building relationships with external partners, fundraising, all of it has to be centered around keeping students at the center. If students are not the center focus for us, then we will not have jobs. And so it's important for us to make sure that we are committed to the mission, that we are working collaboratively across our different departments, and that we are building connections with the community at large, as well as with each other to once again ensure student success. Being a student-ready institution, so this is a growing term within higher education. Many times we discuss students as being college ready. Do they have the criteria such as GPA, test scores, and all of these different things to be successful within the curriculum of our institution? But how, as an institution, are we student ready? How are our policies, our procedures, our budgeting strategies, and all of the things that we're doing ensuring support for our students? So as we are recruiting students to the institution and we're making sure that they are ready, we will be ready to serve them with the processes and protocols that we have in place as an institution. So as I dived into the various strategic focus that were shared in planning this presentation, I combined a couple of them together that made sense for me. Looking at student enrollment, retention, and graduation, as well as community and stakeholder engagement, I thought were really important. Through my experience of having been the Vice President of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management at Central State University, I realized that these 4 things are important whenever we're looking at success of bringing students in, as well as connecting with the community. So identity, value proposition, student experience, and partnerships are all going to be critical for us to explore within this institution. Identity, who are we? It is important that as we look at our marketing and look at sharing who we are to the community, that we truly understand what that means. At my current institution of City Colleges of Chicago, one way we were able to explore how to grow enrollment was through an environmental scan. What is the environment around SUNO doing now and in the future that we can come alongside to grow? If we don't know what's happening in the market, if we don't know what's happening in the communities around us, then it will be hard for us to say we want to recruit more students to the institution and grow enrollment and ultimately retain. So understanding what's happening around us will be critical. Also with our identity is brand, looking at our image and brand. And so I saw within the strategic plan, we outlined that we wanted to do a marketing campaign. And that is so important because if we are not sharing who we are with the larger community, then they won't be able to connect with opportunities that we have available. So that's important. That leads to value proposition. Why do people want to choose us? As I was researching, I've seen that there are several options of higher education institutions within New Orleans. What causes SUNO to stand out? And so that is so important for us to draw from and share with students, share with community partners so that they can connect with us to ultimately grow our institution. Student experience. Students are the greatest ambassadors for us when we're looking to grow enrollment and ultimately retain. In my experience, I have done focus group research with students to truly understand why they remain at the institution or why they leave. Sometimes what I realize is that at the institution, we're doing some really great things of planning new buildings, doing new programs, and doing some exciting things. But that doesn't always connect with why students may leave. They may say, I'm leaving because communication is not strong. I'm leaving because I can't connect with my faculty members. So how are we ensuring that our student experience is truly being demonstrated and illustrated throughout all the work that we're doing? Lastly, with this is partnerships. How are we growing connections with various community-based organizations, international opportunities that we have with building relationships, alumni, community partners? There's just so many people that we can grow connections with, which will help us ultimately retain, recruit, graduate, and grow various resources for the institution. Accreditation. So my friend over here, that's our SACS liaison. That is so important for us to have a focus, not just on accreditation of the time of like the self-study and preparing for accreditation, but we should be having accreditation on our mind each and every day. And we will do so through these 3 key things. 1, living our mission. How is our mission penetrated throughout everything we do within the institution? Excuse me. How are we showing our mission within our service delivery to our students, alumni, faculty, staff? How is our mission being shown through our services? Culture of assessment. I know in my current role, sometimes when we talk about assessment, people get nervous, like, oh my goodness, I did something wrong, something's not happening. But assessment can be an amazing thing for us to focus on day in and day out. Having a culture of assessment is saying, are we efficient and effective at what we're doing as an institution and how we can continuously get better? So making sure that we have a culture of assessment built in all of our offices is going to be key with accreditation. Lastly, continuous improvement. When we learn from the different things of assessment, we can determine how we would move forward to grow. We should be consistently and constantly improving, because if we're doing things that we used to do in the past and it hasn't been working for us, why continue to do it? So how can we continue to move forward? And ultimately, that will lead us to ensuring a solid reaccreditation every time that we're having that review. Faculty recruitment, retention, and development. As I was doing some research and really understanding how we can ensure that we are recruiting talent to the institution, there were a few key things that came up. And as you see in your handouts, there's notes that I have at the bottom because I knew I wasn't going to have time to cover everything. So some of the information is also there for you to review. With faculty recruitment, retention, and development, I see that it's important for us to target individuals to come to our institution using non-familiar or non-regular resources. So sometimes it's deciding to go to higheredjobs.com or going to different resources to recruit faculty. But how can we get into various industries, like speaking to partners such as Walmart or Google or Verizon, other institutions, to say, do you have individuals that have an interest in educating? And so how can we explore those non-traditional means to bring in faculty to our institution? Grow from within. We have our amazing SGA president here, Mr. Williams. Depending on his major, could we recruit him back to be a part of our faculty once he graduates? If we're growing our talent within, then they are giving back something even more exciting than just their knowledge of what they've gained through the academic experience, but truly their student experience. Competitive salaries, professional development is important. We want to make sure that our faculty know that we are committed to their growth and their success. That it's not just about them teaching in the classroom, but how are we growing them, supporting their research opportunities, etc. Work-life balance. One of the things I believe is important for us as an institution is making sure that we care about our faculty and our staff. People are giving so much, and if we do not pour back into them, then they will not continue to give as they should. So being committed to them is important. Faculty mentorship, assigning new faculty a senior mentor would be great because that allows for them to get acclimated to the culture, making sure they're understanding different policies and protocols, and kind of learning that inside track of being a successful senior faculty member. Lastly on this, creating leadership opportunities. One of the things I believe is important is making sure that our faculty are involved in multiple aspects of the institution. While their classroom experience and engaging students in that way is critical, making sure that we're supporting them and growing as leaders is also important to our institution being successful. Looking at academic programs, as a chancellor, I would say that it's important for us to understand the occupational outlook within New Orleans, Louisiana, and the country. It would not be wise for me to say as chancellor, we're going to start 10 academic programs this year. But it's important for us to understand what are the growing programs within the area, what are the possible competition if we start certain programs in the area, and making sure that we are doing what's necessary in due diligence of our research. As I was looking once again and preparing for today, I had done some research on the market here in New Orleans, and I had found that New Orleans is the 6th city in growing entrepreneurs. And so I said to myself, like, is an entrepreneurship major a good direction? Because when you think about millennials and Generation Z, many of them are saying, I don't want to be like my mom or dad and go and work in a company for 30, 40 years, but I want to create my own. So looking at our small business incubator as an opportunity to create an academic program focused on growing entrepreneurs in the area. Because what that does is it allows for people to grow roots within New Orleans and decide to stay, or even move beyond New Orleans to ultimately grow and be successful. So that's one academic direction that I had in mind. Other opportunities is once again continuing to expand our partnerships with local community colleges on looking at 2+2 programs, which could cause for us to offer more majors, and then continuing to look at increased joint curriculum with institutions such as the University of New Orleans and other institutions in the area. So once again, as we add our offerings, it's not just looking at what we would provide solely with SUNO, but how we spread our wings and create those partnerships and collaborations. And once again, all of this is about keeping our students first, listening, hearing from them, hearing from our community. Lastly, fundraising and resource development and fiscal stability. I look at these things as being once again together. As I said earlier, my strategic focus of being a student-centered and student-ready institution is about, once again, our finances, right? So looking at our strategic plan and seeing goals about increasing our fiscal ratio, seeing goals about doing a number of strategies within the fiscal stability. One of the things I was really looking at is financial transparency. How are we sharing with the larger campus community about our finances? Not just to say, you know, here's the budget for the year, here's our projected expenditures, here's our revenues, but actually helping people understand how does the work that you do day in, day out, serving students, supporting students, will tie into our bottom line. What is the return on investment that each of us are contributing to the community so that our students can be successful? Exploring opportunities to right-size the institution. Sometimes when there are issues with finances, it's very easy to go to downsizing. Let's eliminate positions, let's get rid of this program, let's get rid of that. But there's another approach of right-sizing. And right-sizing is us looking at what specifically do we need within our infrastructure that would support this particular enrollment number, and then as we grow. So it may be looking at departments that could be large for our enrollment, but looking at how we can maybe realign staff right now, and then once we grow, we can do some other things. And I've seen this happen when I was at Central State University. We had looked at some right-sizing instead of doing budget cuts and eliminating positions. How can we realign staff to support the growth of our institution? Employee giving. So I believe that something like this is so important. Many times when you go to corporate partners and you ask them to give money, they may ask you how many of your employees are actually contributing to the institution. Do they believe in your mission? Do they value what you do? So how can we encourage our employees to be a part of our giving? I've seen on our website that we have Giving Tuesday or giving happening right now. How can we ensure all of our faculty and staff are giving, even our students? It could be $5 a month. It could start off there, and then, you know, Mr. Williams is going to be giving $1 billion one day, but it started with him being SU president at giving $5 a month and contributing to the growth of the institution while he's here. Partnership development, currently at the City Colleges of Chicago, and more recently, I had the opportunity of working with the team to secure $1.3 million. It went up $100,000 since I spoke to you all last week. And we were able to grow that by connecting what our mission is as an institution with the mission of the funder. When you have those coinciding and aligned missions, then you are able to draw in those particular resources. I've seen also in my research that SUNO had received a gift from AT&T at one point. How do we expand that opportunity again? How do we build relationships with companies like Amazon that have an educational arm and wanting to partner with institutions? Or companies like Walmart, and the list goes on. How can we engage those institutions to align our mission with their mission to give to us? Lost alum. Sometimes, and I'm great that we are excited we have you, Ms. Manning Ambrose, here, and the alum in the room, because there are a lot of alum that I'm sure you went to college with that don't even connect to SUNO now. How do we re-engage them? How do we let them know that we are thriving and we are being successful as an institution? Something I done as Vice President of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management at Central State was I had what was called Student Affairs Enrollment Management After Hours. And so we worked with a local alum who owned a business within the Dayton area, and we had an alumni event. So alumni came, we invited them. We didn't ask them for a dime during that initial engagement. We asked them to come, reconnect, help us to demystify the things that you may have heard on social media or something you heard about from somebody that was connected before. Let's re-engage you and help you understand what's happening now. From that event, we had alumni giving connecting us with internship opportunities for our students. Some of them joined the Alumni Association, and I believe some of them started to partake in our annual giving campaign. So it was reconnecting them to where we are now and where we were going in the future as an institution. Lastly with this particular point, because I know I'm running close on time, is exploring the opportunity of launching a capital campaign. Now, capital campaigns are a lot of work. It's a lot of time. But once again, looking at the strategic plan and looking at our giving goals for each of the years from 2018 to 2025, making increases each year, how can we work over the next few years of creating a plan to have a capital campaign? Now, I did put a dollar amount in here, and I was intentional because that'll take time for us as a community to determine what it would take to raise a large amount of money. What are the partnerships we have? looking at the strategic plan and everything that is happening right now, it's building along to really ensure that SUNO is on, continuously stable footing, so that when we go out and ask those large corporations, those large philanthropic organizations to give to a capital campaign, we'll be able to demonstrate the amazing work that has been done over the past several years to show that their investment will truly go to amazing work. And so that is my strategic vision at this time, but I know that if selected as chancellor, I would have the opportunity to learn even more about the institution from day-to-day interactions, which would continue to expand my strategic vision. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Crow. We'll now begin our Q&A session. We'll begin with Ms. Charles.
Good afternoon again, Dr. Crow.
Good afternoon.
Please describe your plan for moving Southern University at New Orleans forward as a premier 21st century institution of higher learning that fosters a high level of customer service, improved campus morale, continued professional development and training, and essentially an organization where staff members can feel a part of achieving this great institution's mission.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. I would say that the first aspect of all of this before we go outside is working inside. That means ensuring that we understand what are the reasons why there could be not strong morale within the institution. What are the concerns? What are the challenges? How do we truly create that community within the institution so that individuals will be ambassadors for us? So as I mentioned earlier, within one of the initial slides is looking at that commitment to the mission, the collaboration and connectedness. How do we help people feel reconnected if they feel disconnected from what the mission is of the institution? How do we go through and understanding what are the problems, what are the concerns, what are the reasons for not having strong morale? In that is creating plans for developing things such as professional development opportunities, looking at symposiums, working with our leaders of each of our areas to make sure they feel solid in their leadership to help develop their staff and support them accordingly. Some of the things that I have recently been working on at City Colleges of Chicago is creating a leadership institute. So sometimes you have people that are in that middle road position and they're not really sure how their trajectory would go. And so we're exploring looking at a curriculum that would help those individuals participate in monthly workshops, getting a mentor with someone that's either a senior leader on campus or within the industry, and truly helping them grow and be successful. I believe something like that would help to restore morale as well as encourage professional development. As we are building people internally, that will permeate outside. If people are discontent with the institution, they're not going to be ambassadors to really share our message and share our mission beyond these walls. So it's going to be important for us, once again, to build them, to then be able to encourage them to be ambassadors for us. At the same time as we're working on that internal growth is the external piece, as I spoke about earlier. What is our identity and image within the community? Within the role of Vice President Student Affairs and Enrollment Management at Central State, I did some listening sessions around with the local high schools within the 30-mile radius. Something I learned was that some of them thought that we were about to close, we lost accreditation, that there were some funding issues, all these things. So I realized that we had to change their image by being connected with them, by sharing with them who we are now and where we want to go. And as we were able to share that information about where we are, it calls for them to want to increase sending students to the institution. We were able to show them that we are able to do partnerships and collaboration, and that could begin to change, once again, the external image, which then continues to permeate and draw out. So a lot of it is about that relationship building and changing the narrative so that we can truly see people be ambassadors for us, even beyond what we're sharing ourselves.
Thank you.
Dr. Crow.
Okay.
How would you, as Chancellor, incorporate the Alumni and Alumni Association into student recruitment and retention process?
Yes, our alumni are so important. Within once again, my role as Vice President of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management, and even right now at City Colleges, what we did is work with the Alumni Association on doing a recruitment training. So something we learned about our alum, which was interesting, we have those amazing alum that graduated back in 1970, 1975, and they're talking about the amazing days at the institution. But the institution had changed in 40 years. So some of the campus looked different, and some of their stories would hopefully help us draw students. The students were then looking for what they said was on the campus, which no longer existed. So we started to build, we built a recruitment strategy where we trained alumni, we provided them with an alumni training guide on what are the current facts, what are the current listing of programs, what are the opportunities that we're offering on the campus, and then we provided them a Google Drive of recruitment materials. Because what we had happen was people were Xerox copying documents, and it just wasn't looking like the image and brand we wanted to portray. So we provided Google Docs, gave them branding guidelines so that they can share that information out. And the alumni were excited about having that information, having those resources. They felt equipped and empowered. So I would say definitely working with our alumni chapters and association on doing training to make sure our alumni have up-to-date information, and then giving guidelines on how you can reproduce materials of the institution. Once again, they appreciated that as well. As it relates to retention opportunities, something we're doing right now at city colleges is we're creating what we're calling a community coaching model, where we are re-engaging alum and community members to serve as mentors for our current students. What that does is that it allows for the alumni to connect back to the institution, to know once again what's happening now, but then allows for them to guide students to help them on the path that they traveled as getting to their professional career. So I would say creating those spaces for alum to connect with us, once again, the recruitment thing by training them, but then also creating those mentoring opportunities, which will allow for retention. During homecoming at Central State, we used to have a part of the alumni visit days. We're having alum come into the classroom, sharing their stories, sharing their experiences. Once again, students knowing that the journey is not that far away. I can do this, I can make it happen. And so engaging our alum in that way will be necessary. Also, Ms. Manning Ambrose, where do you work? And helping us connect with your organization to draw in internship job opportunities is definitely important. So creating all those different connecting points, I believe, will be necessary for us to re-engage alum to SUNO. Thank you. Hello. If selected as chancellor, what do you have in your arsenal of desired accomplishments to engender the goodwill of the community, particularly the business community, to support our Southern University at New Orleans? And please elaborate on opportunities relative to financial support, internships for students, and research possibilities for our faculty. Absolutely. So when we're looking at business opportunities and possibilities of partnerships and connections, it's really drawing upon what is that company offering that connects with, once again, what our institution's mission and academic programs. Some of these opportunities have been along the lines of working with banking industries on creating summer internship programs for like our accounting majors or individuals that are interested in going in that particular vein, truly being able to see what do they offer that our students can become aligned with, and our students can take part in those opportunities while they're in college. Is there an opportunity for them to come teach classes on our campus in order to help our students learn about their business and for them to learn about us? So I would say those initial opportunities of truly connecting with their mission and goals are as a business with our mission and goals as an institution. Are there opportunities with local businesses to provide jobs for our students, like right now while they're in college? I know when I was at Central State University, we had a challenging relationship with Walmart. And we had a challenging relationship with Walmart because some of our students would go to Walmart and not do positive things in there. And so one of the things that we had to start doing, and I had set in place, was for my dean of students at the time to start attending local Chamber of Commerce meetings, which I believe there was maybe a representative from Walmart in that area at that meeting. And so we were trying to, once again, indicate to them who we are now. Do not cause for maybe what some students may have done at your business to be the way in which you see our institution. So getting involved with those Chamber of Commerce allowed for us to, once again, connect and create opportunities, like I said, banking internships, to create opportunities for them to come on our campus and do collaborations like with our faculty and do guest speaking opportunities. Also, those opportunities of us truly being able to understand
what do they have to offer that is valuable to our students? So really looking at those internship and job opportunities. As it relates to research, finding those companies that do have that research arm and opportunity for connection. I was once again doing some research, and I've seen, as I mentioned earlier, with the Amazon company. As we know, Amazon is big. It's doing a lot of expansion and growth right now in the area. And I've seen within their educational subsidiary is that they're building relationships with colleges to do some like training and do create new majors in like cybersecurity and cyber things. Do we have opportunities for our faculty to learn and connect with them, and our faculty to actually input on their industry? So once again, creating those collaborations and partnerships that will lead to internships, jobs, and then also connecting to the faculty arm of our institution to support those particular businesses in their growth and sustainability as well.
Thank you, Dr. Crowe.
Again, Dr. Crowe, currently, SUNO does not have a permanent vice chancellor of student affairs. The students would like to know, if you were selected as chancellor, when will you fill that position? What attributes would you look for in an ideal candidate? And what expectations would you have for the selected individual? Also, will you bring a new team to assist you in the transition?
So Vice President or Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management. So as you can see from my resume, Student Affairs and Enrollment Management is my heart. Like that is my upbringing. That's how I got into higher education, was from serving as a graduate assistant in Student Affairs. And so I know that that is a very critical position. As it relates to a timeline, of course, I would want to make sure that I'm working with the Vice Chancellor of Finance to make sure what is our budget for the position, what are the particulars, because I think it's important for us not to jump in and do a search and then we don't have that finance piece figured out. So that would be one of my initial things, figuring out financially how are we set with this particular position. Next, as it relates to timeline, that is an immediate position that needs to be filled. But I would want to hear first from students. What is it about this experience? What is it about this person that we need from your lens? Because this person serves a very interesting role between the administration and faculty and students. They're kind of that bridge. And I think it's important for us to not have a person that is too heavy on one or the other, because they do have to be that bridging point. And so qualities that I think would be important would be, one, are they understanding of best practices within the industry? There's national organizations such as NASPA and ACPA, which are student affairs organizations, that they truly need to understand what are some best practices, what are opportunities that we can bring to SUNO for our students. I would say secondly, someone who is student-centered and student-ready, someone that is truly understanding the voice of the students, can articulate it to the administration so that we can make the right decisions forward. Someone who has an understanding of data. The enrollment management aspect within that particular role will be critical. Can you read, interpret, and understand data to know what are the right decisions that we need to make as it relates to going outside of the institution and bringing students in? Do we truly understand who our students are? Like, what are you about? Tell me a little bit about who you are. Tell me where you're from. Tell me why students from your high school chose to come to SUNO or didn't choose us. So truly that communication with students and understanding their why. Why did you attend SUNO? Why did you choose us? Because that information will be important for us when we go out and do recruitment and enrollment for the institution. Also within that role, I think it'll be critical for that person to have a connection with faculty. Because if student affairs and enrollment management is totally looking at that side of the house and doesn't have a good relationship with faculty, that will create the tail of all time academic student affairs silo, and that is not going to be a way to lead the student's success. So how well has that person worked with faculty in the past? What are their ideas and vision for working with faculty in the future? How can we create relationships with co-curricular programs and doing some really joint things? So definitely it would be an important role. Would I say the first day I walk in, position description posted? No, because there are some people that I need to talk to about who would be a part of that process. I think it's important for that individual in the search to have students on the committee, to have faculty on the committee, have someone from the business area on the committee. Because if we don't have an entire campus community that is together and filling that role, then we will have problems, because that person will come in not understanding my vision of having this collective community committed to the mission and supporting our students to be successful. You're welcome. Thank you.
Good morning, once again. So would you please share an example of how you will integrate and promote shared governance on the SUNO campus to better engage
companies such as Apple or Google, how can we, there are tech companies, so what within our institution would connect them to us? Is it funding a particular computer lab that's focused on understanding Google Analytics or Google functions and things like that? Is there an opportunity to connect once again with an Apple company that's saying, we want to help you on things such as cybersecurity and different things like that. So seeing in my past of those particular companies having met with Google and connecting them and talking about how do we build our community in understanding their analytics, understanding their product, and truly being able to help our students engage with that product in an intentional way through them providing trainers and developers on our campuses and then working with them accordingly. So I would say some of those companies could be opportunities, but it will be key for us to connect with their particular industry on what they provide so that we can then connect it in alignment with what we're saying we want to move forward with as an institution strategically.
Thank you. The next question comes from Christian Clement, and the question begins with a commendation, Dr. Crawford, your pointed comment, placing students first, continuing engagement with students by any institution, including students' welfare, is critical to enrollment, retention, and successful graduation. So what will be your approach in attracting students, especially from the greater New Orleans area, where there are issues of poverty, economic challenges, and other competing activities like quick bucks in the hospitality industry, which doesn't require much in terms of a skill set, or special skill set, that is.
One of the things that I believe is important is ensuring that we have strong relationships with the New Orleans Public School District. Something I've seen in my experience as Vice President of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management at Central State, as well as currently in City Colleges of Chicago, is building relationships with our school district, speaking to our principals locally, speaking to the system office there, and making sure that we are able to look at what are they having as their strategic focus that connect with ours. I did, once again, doing research and preparing for today, I looked at the New Orleans Public School District website and their strategic plan, and one of their goals was to enhance college readiness, or enhance readiness for students. And I've seen that like a really great opportunity for SUNO to connect with those institutions within the school district to create those collaborative programs of like the dual credit, dual enrollment opportunities, summer camp opportunities, just ways to engage those students locally to have the experience of coming on our college campus, seeing themselves as a college student, seeing themselves as someone that can obtain a degree, seeing themselves in the seats of our current students, and then ultimately that could be them one day. I think sometimes, and from my experience of visiting different communities around Ohio, and especially within Chicago, there are a lot of students that just don't see themselves there. So the way in which we can create that opportunity of allowing them to see themselves will be important. Also, as you were mentioning, I think you said quick bucks.
Quick bucks.
Okay. I'm not 100% familiar with that program, but that'll be something I would research to understand what exactly that is, and if there's opportunities to grow that. I wouldn't want to commit to something without doing research and understanding what it is. But once again, my goal of helping those students in the surrounding community is, do they see themselves here? And if they don't, how do we make that dream become a reality by creating those opportunities for them to visit and connect with our campus and be a part of our community? I think about my time at University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and this is the last thing I'll mention here with that, is that we had something that was called the Weehawks. And the Weehawks were the little children of like faculty, staff, and the community that would come to campus during different events. And so can we have little nights that we would create to encourage our little children in the area to come to campus? We can have different days, different events for them to come and once again see themselves, have a shirt, maybe have a little ID that says, I'm a knight, who are you, come be with us. So once again, allowing them to see themselves here even younger, and they can grow up on this campus and then eventually become students of the community.
And Dr. Craw, I think the quick bucks was fast dollars, just quick money.
Quick bucks. And that,
yeah, I don't want you to go research that.
All right, well.
Yeah, fast money.
All right, well, there's opportunities for that we can always explore.
I want to clear that up. The next question is, what are the major fundraising activities that you've led?
Yeah, some of the major fundraising activities that I've led, as I spoke recently, or I spoke during this time together, was a recent partnership with the Crown Family Foundation in Chicago, where we were able to secure $1.2 million. These funds are specifically focused on the class of 2020 graduates of Chicago Public Schools. How can we support those students that they're the first class graduating during the pandemic in this era? So we are working to support them, to help them get to campus, to help them with resources financially, getting them laptops and other things that would help them be successful. A part of that, once again, as I mentioned in my presentation, is about understanding the foundation's mission and looking at our mission as an institution of providing access. How do we align those missions? How do we align your desire as a funder with what we are seeing as our mission as an institution? Another way in which dollars have been secured that I've worked on is securing dollars for a housing resource specialist. Within Chicago and within city colleges, we've seen a large amount of our students that were housing and food insecure. So myself and another one of my colleagues worked together on creating a proposal to submit to a local foundation, and we were able to hire what we called a housing resource specialist. That person's role was to create a collaboration and partnership with our local homeless system, where we would be able to learn about all of the housing resources that we can connect our students who are housing insecure with. And so once again, looking at what the problems and challenges were at the institution, then connecting with funders and partners that are saying, we have money, we want to support this initiative, and connecting those two together. So those have been two ways within the past year we've been able to secure dollars to meet a need and a challenge that we were seeing within the institution.
Okay, thank you. We have one more question on the chat box. It is for the competitive salaries and commitment to professional development. How would you increase the salaries at SUNO for faculty that are currently below the average?
So I would, very great question. I would say part of this, once again, is working with our Vice Chancellor of Finance. As we said, as we realize, financial pieces is a part of our strategic plan. We have to understand, once again, where we are as an institution financially. I will say this here, and hopefully this doesn't upset anyone, I would not commit over this mic that I'm going to increase faculty salaries the day I come in. That would be irresponsible. What my goal would be is working with our finance team, exploring, once again, where we are, financially overall. Where are there opportunities to explore percentage increases across the board for staff? What do we need to do? We have to have a plan in making that happen. We can't be careless. We can't just be reckless with that, but we have to look at it, explore it. What are the market research about certain faculty roles and what they should make based on industry standards? So it would be definitely doing some initial research and planning so that I can make an informed decision to support increases of that nature. So it wouldn't be something I would hide behind and say, oh, well, maybe next week or maybe tomorrow. It would be, let's be intentional on creating a plan and looking at our resources to ensure that we have informed decisions before we move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Williams, that was the last chat box question.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Merrick. So Dr. Craw, we want to thank you again for being with us. Does the council have any other questions before Dr. Craw makes closing remarks? Okay, seeing no questions, if you would, go ahead and close us out.
Yes, this has been an amazing experience to come and visit with you all today, to spend a few hours in New Orleans. And once again, as I've shared with you today, my various experience, my commitment to student success, my commitment to growth, my commitment to building relationships, connections, and collaborations, and ultimately commitment to the mission of the institution would be what you would have in me as a chancellor. I'm someone who is dedicated to the work. I've been in higher education, as I said earlier, over 15 years, and the hallmark of my success as a leader has been connecting with people, ensuring that I'm not making promises that I can't keep, but I do make the promise that I will be committed to learning with everyone to grow the institution in a way that will lead us to be successful in meeting our strategic priorities. So that is just a little bit that I would share in my closing remarks, and I look forward and hope to have the opportunity to serve alongside of you all as the next Chancellor of Southern University at New Orleans. Thank you.
Thank you again for those remarks. And on behalf of President Belton and the entire council, again, we congratulate you for making it to this step in the process. We wish you the best, and you'll be hearing from us in the coming days.
Okay, thank you so
again
much.
For everyone who's listening. And we will have our next candidate at 1:30. We will recess until 1:30.
So read it again? Yeah, 'cause I want to.